And the kit cash has already been given out, thanks to Oasis. $1,000 in cash for today's tournament. Allowing players to fulfill their dream of making money while playing Magic. All right, and of course, everybody probably wants me to start a prediction here. Who will be champion? We have the options of Aaron, and we have the options of Scott. 2 minutes on the clock. Bet your points, people. Bet them.
Yeah, my feelings from testing this matchup. We have Scam versus Creativity here, and my feelings for testing the matchup was that Scam was pretty favored, but the results over the last over this weekend here have not gone in Scam's favor. I actually don't think that Scam has beaten Creativity this weekend.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And honestly, like it both of these decks have this ability to win games like in bad matchups. It's like almost needs to be a feature of your modern deck. We talked about that earlier in the tournament, and these are two of the, in my opinion, 3 best decks in the format.
Right. Yeah, the other one obviously being Murktide.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable conclusion to draw on the 3 best decks, and also what makes them powerful is that they just have game in even their bad matchups.
All right, we see a Blood Crypt starting. Will we see a Scam from Scott?
Looks like we are going to see a turn 1 Fury. This play was a lot more lights out in this matchup prior to Leyline Binding getting printed.
Yeah, Leyline Binding makes it a little bit worse, but I see a shock here from Aaron.
Yeah, and I'm not even really sure what to make of that. Just wanted to hold up Bolt to not get, well, it doesn't even work against Grief Scam though. Yeah, I'm really not sure why Aaron would prioritize shocking to hold up the Lightning Bolt there.
All right, taking out the Fire Ice, that is something that can buy Aaron some time to tap down that Fury.
Most definitely, and more importantly, the Thoughtseize was, specifically looking for Leyline Binding, and not finding it there is good news for Scott.
I think Aaron will still prioritize going to grab Triumph, though, to complete the effect so that he can have the Binding draw.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that his almost only out here is to draw a Leyline Binding.
Yeah, did we not see Teferi in hand for... I guess that the clock is too fast for that, though?
Yeah, it's going to be over before that happens, so, it's pretty much Leyline Binding on this turn, or it's going to get pretty...
Also, we were just wrong. He did not shock in a Scalding Tarn.
Okay.
Or
that was an Arid Mesa,
yeah.
Okay. That makes so much more sense.
Listen, I'm just saying, it's not my fault. The arts are
yeah,
all over the place.
I agree. Deciphering a land from looking at a stream is almost impossible these days.
One of the nice things is that if I do these streams again for those watching, I do have the equipment now to use a different camera, overhead camera, that will both orient a little bit better and be higher quality.
Yeah, that's definitely nice, but I'm not going to even try to blame the camera for why I can't tell these lands apart. I also can't tell it from a in-person view.
So the Wren got back that Arid Mesa.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily fair to call this game lost for Aaron at this point, but it is certainly dire. Even just this attack here, assuming that he does decide to bring Aaron down to 3, yeah, is going to put Aaron in a spot where it's going to be difficult to fetch, and also he's going to be dead to Lightning Bolt for, the near future.
So there's actually no white mana in play for Aaron either.
Okay, yeah, that's a Ketria Triumph, huh?
Is that the Teamer one?
Yes.
I believe that it's the Teamer one, but maybe it's the Jeskai one. No, it can't be because he has a Bren in play.
He does have the Leyline Binding in hand and the Arid Mesa to go with it. But he can't fetch and shock is his actual problem here. Otherwise, he could go get a Steam Vents, or a Sacred Foundry, rather. So being at 3 is actually becoming very, very critical here.
So, yep, we're going to go ahead and kill that. Grief you.
He can't cast the Leyline Binding right now, so this Grief is likely to take Leyline Binding. And I assume we're going to fetch a Jeskai Triumph.
I think the Mardu one is probably the one to get.
Or sure, yeah, Mardu, yeah. That's actually fairly interesting in and of itself, right? Like, they don't usually play 3 Triumphs, do they?
Some lists in the past have, and Aaron is still on 3.
Okay.
A lot of lists have cut down to 2 Triumphs, but...
Okay, yeah, I see that he is playing the Jeskai one, the Savi Triumph, the Ragri Triumph, and the Ketria Triumph.
So, with Dwarven Mine available to make a blocker, as well as the Fable token, right now it looks like we are feigning death of our own on Aaron's side.
Yeah, I mean, he can present 2 blockers and try to make the double block work. It is nice that he gets to do this without having to fetch again.
I believe Scott is Hellbent.
Yeah, that looks. Well, I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks accurate. Nice of Aaron to play with the known card revealed. Yeah, known cards revealed, both for his opponent and for us.
Apparently they're getting a lantern in addition to the lanyard, according to Clint in the chat.
They're getting what?
A lantern.
Okay.
And a lanyard.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the no attack there. I'll be interested to ask Scott about that later.
Well, so the reason not to attack there is because it leaves Terminate as a lethal out, right? Because if you can ever get him down to 1 blocker, this Grief will just win the game.
Yeah, but now... Ooh. Oh.
More lands. Wow. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, so some of these have come off Ren, so it always looks a little worse than it actually is on how bad you're flooding out when you have Ren and 6 in play. That being said, still a bit unlucky for Aaron here.
Oh, I think Aaron might have been supposed to make another dwarf to block with there.
Yeah, probably slightly better to double block with the dwarves. Does it again have 2 blockers for the grief?
All right, untap, draw. Fury, terminate.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, that's game 1.
Game 1 will go to Scott on Scam. What do we have in the sideboard here, Matt?
Yeah, that's what I was just taking a look at right now. So from the Scam side, it looks like you could make an argument for Engineered Explosives, Fatal Push, Torok, or Hitsugu Consumes All, but the cards that I think he's going to be most interested in are Magus of the Moon and Necromentia.
And obviously on Aaron's side, we have Veil of Summer as a huge one to try and prevent some of the stuff from happening to you. And does Turn to Earth work here? I mean, I don't know that it's worth it, but it's interesting to think about.
So it stops you from getting griefed on later turns, or it can stop you from getting furied on turn 1. Or it costs 2 mana, right? So
What are we talking about?
Turn the Earth.
No, the front side is only 1 mana.
Okay, yeah. So it does stop you from getting furied on 1, or it can stop you from getting griefed once you get to 3 mana.
Got it. So
Or I guess 2 mana.
I don't
right?
think it's
Yeah,
worth
2
it
mana.
though.
I would not expect Turn the Earth to come in here. I would expect Veil of Summer to come in because that card is great.
And then Ether Gust, something that you
Yeah,
consider.
Aether Gust is definitely something that I've brought in matchups like this. It certainly helps him in spots like the one we saw in game 1, where Scott goes in on a turn 1 Fury. I could also believe that Atraxa comes in here, especially if he's expecting Necromentia.
Okay.
But yeah, the big one that he's going to get is Veil of Summer, and it's especially going to be valuable on the play here in game 2.
Being on the play game 2, I don't know which of these players was the high. I guess we should have known just from watching.
Yeah, Scott was the higher seed.
Okay, so this is the game that Veil is going to be the best, and we'll see if Aaron can concoct a hand with it in it.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like Aaron is almost done sideboarding.
I mean, honestly, at the very least, it's gonna maybe make Scott think twice about scamming on turn 1. Lots of alliteration going on here.
Yeah, that's true. All right, players are shuffling up. It looks like, so we'll head on back down. You guys can hear me drinking my liquid death. I'm not afraid. Oh, I also have this wrong on the stream that we can fix that. Oops.
Yep. Good to clarify. This is actually the finals. Both of these players have already qualified for the RC. So.
Yeah. So if they're causing any confusion, I apologize. That was my fault. Do you like Dallas?
Dallas?
Yeah.
I've only been there once, and it was fine.
It was a convention center that
yeah,
you were in?
that's what I was just gonna say. The thing about traveling for Grand Prix is a lot of times it's just whatever the convention center is, and there are some that are worse than others. Don't get me wrong. A lot of the convention centers for GPs out in the Midwest were pretty bad. But yeah, Dallas was fine.
I would think that airports has a lot to do with how much I like a city if
Sure.
I'm traveling that way.
Yeah, it could be. I think that the only time I went to Dallas, though, I actually drove, which was not a good decision.
Oh, is that trip? That's the only time you went? That's
Yeah.
great. Somebody almost died on a chicken wing that weekend.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's funny. You know, we could see a death to something with wings in this match, but it won't be to a chicken wing.
Something with wings being an Archon of Cruelties?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or an Atraxa, you know.
Sure. Does Atraxa have wings? I mean, she has flying, but...
Yeah, she has wings.
Okay. I feel like my art trivia is very lackluster.
I mean, I couldn't possibly tell you what art is on Scott's playmat.
That's a magic card.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
The thing is
couldn't
that
tell you either.
the art, like there's so much art now that
Hmm.
I can't do it. All right, players looking at their openers. We see looks like there's an Archon, Wooded Foothills.
See, Archon, maybe Basic Mountain. So he's gonna start off with a Dwarven Mine, which is
The worst start.
yeah, it's not your favorite start, generally speaking. For one, it means that there's no leyline bindings on turn 2 in your future. It looks like Fire Ice and Fable the Mirror Breaker.
And we're gonna have the same start here.
Yeah.
From Scott.
It is a strong start. I think it's most of the time worth going for it. It's definitely going to be worse on the draw. But it's such a quick clock. It demands an answer. And we know that Aaron's going to have Fire Ice to kind of buy some time here. But even still.
Thoughtseize coming out for Scott. Fire is going to tap down the Fury.
It's putting Aaron in the interesting spot to not want to draw Leyline Binding right now, but to want to draw it for the next draw.
Fable, Brotherhood's End.
Okay.
Archon.
Does look like he's going to have a decent stream of blockers for this Fury. I assume that one of the Fable, the Mirror Breakers, is going to hit the bin here.
Yep. Draw for Aaron. Play the basic. And Fable it up.
Also, notably, no second land for Scott again. We've seen Scott on camera many times today, and has honestly not gotten past 2 lands very often.
Who needs them?
Yeah.
Taking the damage there from Aaron.
Very interesting. Does look like he drew a Leyline Binding. Yeah, perhaps he just doesn't want to have to shock in a land in addition to everything else. So, I mean, that being said, if he had blocked, he would have 8 more life, so... Yeah, I guess just prioritizing having targets for creativity.
Going down to 8. Gonna have to get a Triome here, I think.
Yeah, probably just a good call, even if you didn't necessarily need to. Kind of wish that you had, like, Naya Triome here, though. So you can get your white and your green.
Got Mardu. Leyland Binding. Attack. Down to 11.
Yeah, and this game certainly looks like it's gotten away from Scott. This even without a creativity, Aaron looks firmly in the driver's seat here.
Fury could go
And
along.
then, yeah, okay.
And then
creativity for infinity.
yeah. So that brings games back to even. Uh, this awesome lantern and lanyard on the line.
Yeah, I don't know how well Scott knows Aaron's list. I assume he knows it pretty well, but in general, I would not advise conceding right at that spot because you might be able to see what other threats they've sideboarded into. Like it's pretty common for creativity to sideboard in another big creature to play around Necromentia.
Looks like Scott's going back into the board, changing some things. What are some things that he might want differently on the play and the draw?
Yeah, I mean Ragavan is pretty much always a consideration on the play or the draw, especially like against Ren and 6. It's pretty awkward to cast a Ragavan on turn 1 when your opponent could just play turn 2 Ren and 6. So it's possible we're bringing those back in for game 3. It's also possible that he has reevaluated, some of the more niche cards like Consumes All or Turok or Engineered Explosives or something.
Okay. We saw Brotherhood's End in hand for Aaron there. Really trying to find ways to deal with lots of creatures at once. Or is there something else I'm missing?
No, I was a little bit surprised to see the Brotherhood's End in Aaron's hand, to be honest. I'm not really sure what it's trying to answer specifically.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Scam just not known for putting a lot of creatures in play at once, and it seems like your 1-for-1 removal is already fine against most of it outside of Undying Fury, but Brotherhood's End actually specifically doesn't answer that.
All right. Looks like players are shuffling up. Oh no. Scott finishing those last few sideboard cards, but we'll head it back down.
One other notable omission from Aaron's list is like any copies of Transmogrify. I believe that's what it's called, the red spell that does basically the polymorph thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if Scott does manage to Necromentia the creativities, it is going to be hard cast these Archons and Atraxes, or they're just not coming into play. I guess Persist would also work, but it's a little bit tough. I assume that Persist stays in this matchup, but there is reason to board it out due to Dothy Voidwalker.
Yeah, I think this matchup is actually a lot more of like a dink and dunk matchup than it is a creativity matchup. I mean, just because you're going to be limited on your resources so often that you want to fight the game through like your own resource management styles. So that being like having an early Ren, things like that.
Sure. And so what is that? Where does that leave Persist for you?
I would say that is not fighting that resource battle, so it would probably come out.
Okay. Well, then at the same time, it does make a Necromentia more of a threat.
And we have this same play all 3 games here.
It's very strong. I mean, especially on the play here. You can see that Aaron does have a Leyline Binding in hand, so he is going to be able to answer this, assuming that Scott doesn't again have turn 2 Thoughtseize, which has also been a very common sequence in this matchup so far. Although, is that a Scalding Tarn or is it a?
It's a Scalding Tarn.
Okay, so he does have the ability to fetch a Triumph here.
And that I believe is a.
Yeah, it's a Turok. It's interesting to bring it in here. It's clearly Scott likes it because it's good against the white removal spells and it does present pressure. Perhaps not wanting cards like Kolaghan's Command or To some extent, Terminate is also not great against Scam. Like, it does answer the Archons, but the damage has kind of been done to some degree, and it's not particularly good at fighting off the card creativity because it costs so much mana.
That makes sense.
Like, I would never side out Lightning Bolt in the matchup because Lightning Bolt can shut off some amount of creativity just for the cost of only holding up 1 mana. But Terminate, there's a much steeper cost to holding up 2 mana. Especially with a deck as land-light as Scam. I mean, we've seen Scott has rarely had 3 mana in play, so.
Gonna go with a Mardu Triumph this time.
Yeah, Scam also Creativity also cannot cast Leyline Binding for 1 mana on turn 2. So if
Yes, it can.
how?
You just grab a second Triumph.
But you, but then you don't. But either way, it costs 2 mana, right? Because the Triumph's tapped.
No, it's still one.
But look how many mana he has. None.
Oh,
If you can play a tap land and cast a 1 mana Leyline Binding.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you can't cast Leyline Binding on turn 2 and anything else.
I understand. I was like, it is one.
But yeah, the point I was making was that if he elects the Leyline Binding, he is going to take a hit from the Torok here. A little bit of a missequence from Scott there. The Torok actually does get a counter from Thoughtseize.
Yep. Untap. Draw. Ooh, that was a creativity. We got Ren.
Counter coming in clutch here.
Just a life total discrepancy a little bit. Nine to 15. Attack. Going directly at Aaron, putting him down to 6.
Yeah, I feel like choosing whether to attack Ren in 6 or not is one of the constant questions in Modern. It's always so hard to decide whether it's worth attacking Ren for a less than lethal amount of damage. Like I guess in that scenario he actually did have the. Oh no, this is only 3, right? It's a 2/1 by default. Yeah, I think if he had the option to just kill the Ren in one shot, he probably would have attacked Ren. But it is hard to justify, basically putting 6 damage on the Ren.
What's your read on what Scott has in hand after that attack and no use of the mana?
Land.
I would also read land.
It could also be Terminate, though, to be fair, or any kind of removal spell. Like, he's certainly representing a removal spell to stop creativity.
Aaron debating here. He has the Dwarven Mine in hand. He's able to create the token now, and then creativity for 1 if he wants to.
Yeah, I think Lightning Bolt is certainly the read that he is trying to rep by both from attacking Aaron directly and also, just by holding up 4 mana. If I'm in Aaron's spot here, I definitely think just slamming creativity is a little too aggressive for not that much benefit. I would like to see just like a fire to take care of this Torok.
Dwarf is in play. We will try to creativity for 1.
Does it like to go for the creativity? Yeah, perhaps some kind of a read on Scott's body language, or you know, just feels that he needs to go for it here.
And here comes Atraxa.
Yeah, that's a big one. Although Turok does have pro white, so we're not out of the woods yet.
Yeah. Some options here for Aaron. He's going to grab an Archon, a Ren, a land, an enchantment.
It's like Wear Terror, Veil of Summer, or oh, Turn the Earth. Okay, so he did elect to bring in Turn the Earth.
Trying to feign Bolt here. Scott, however, trying to draw the Bolt.
Yeah. One person's bad beat story is always somebody else's great top deck story. Oh boy. Wow. That is actually going to be lethal just right there. He's discarding to hand size, and it's going to grow the Turok to lethal.
That's great.
I think that you can actually choose to fail to find with Atraxa too, so a bit of a misstep there from Aaron. Unfortunate.
Well, that is going to do it. Scott is going to win this match, putting him as the champion of the Oasis Games 1K today.
Yeah, congrats to Scott.
And nobody bet against our friend Clint again. Well, before we go, I just want to say thanks to Oasis for allowing us to do this coverage, support the local player community. Thank you, Matt, for coming and doing coverage with me. It was great to have you. Congrats again to Scott and Aaron for qualifying for Dallas, as well as the rest of our top 8 for the cash that they got to make from the kind people here at Oasis Games. You can check them out at mtgoasis.com. They have everything you need in Magic. Check them out. I highly recommend it. If you're still here, drop a follow or drop your Prime sub if you still haven't used it this month. Thank you so much for watching and joining us all weekend long, and hopefully we'll be back for more of this in the future.